Thank you very much. So today it's going to be a pretty short presentation, so I'm not going to go too much into technology about how we do these things. But if you're interested in that, then we have at 12 o'clock at the FinTech stage, we have Nikolai also from MakerDAO sitting down here. He will give a presentation about how it actually works. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we incentivize local communities and projects, specifically in emerging markets. I'm responsible for business development in Europe, but due to the convenience of my time zone, I'm also one of the driving forces behind our expansion into Africa. So just first off, so we have a completely decentralized stablecoin called DAI. And what we aim to do with DAI is to give people globally access to a stable currency that is decentralized and thereby unhindered from governments interfering and interacting towards it. So this is we have been live with it since December 17. So we have kind of like already proved our stability through the crypto winter, and we are completely over collateralized and asset backed on it. So some of the things that we've been working on is trying to grasp how can we create financial inclusion in regions such as Africa, where there's not only a hindrance in regards to technology, access, and learning. And at the moment, we have kind of like two different initiatives that we have been focusing on in the region. One of them is a project-driven initiative where we facilitate and incentivize local entrepreneurs. And the other part of it is a community-driven effort, which I will get back to in a little bit. So our vision is really, creating equal access for everyone in the world, both to a global financial system and a global currency, as I said. And this is really what we believe is some of the greatest use cases around like financial inclusion with the blockchain. We put ourselves in kind of like a group where we saw some great presentations now in regards to identity. And we already work with projects that deal with these things as well. Because, I mean, even if you create kind of like a permissionless system where everyone has equal access and equal status, there's still a lot of cases around the world today where you would need things such as like a credit history. And we live in a society today where, only interaction with the blockchain is still quite not feasible or viable. So you would also still need to create like a social identity and stuff like that, and not just have a private key. So we do believe in like a lot of these things, and this is also some of the things we use to facilitate the local projects. So kind of like the strategy for entrance into these emerging markets, we provide kind of like we start out by finding like what local partners could we potentially be working with. We are exclusively like an infrastructure provider, right? So we supply our technology to these projects and then help them use it. We do a lot of consulting with them. We provide them with the legal framework. So for example, right now, one of the places where we are starting with that process is in South Africa. So I've been in South Africa 2 times over the last month and a half, where we've been meeting up with a lot of local partners, also some of the bigger ones in regards to the region. And this is really because South Africa is often seen as kind of like a stepping stone into the rest of the continent. So, for example, in South Africa now, we are building up like a legal framework. We do it with legal opinions from lawyers. So, if a local project chooses to, work with DAI, then we can actually help them in regards to these like extremely complicated AML regulations that they have in the continent, and in general, just like currency restrictions. So we really believe that we as kind of like the big company behind the facilitation of this, we should be the ones who take these battles, so that even if you're like a one person developer who just sits in like an apartment or something, you will still be able to build a product and still have like the entire framework that we have as an organization, because we give all the resources that we use ourselves as well in regards to these things. We also help them in regards to like institutions, and I think some of the most important things here is like the on and off ramps. So we are still not in a place today where you can go down and spend DAI wherever you want and buy groceries and everything. You can probably send it between friends and a few places. We are really trying to like bridge how you can interact with like the fiat world as well. So for example, we are having a lot of on and off ramps, so the ability to go from crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto. And this can be looking like a variety of things. The most easy thing that we already have established now in 6 African countries is just, a transfer to a bank account. So, you can take DAI, transfer it to a bank account in countries such as like Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa. But we're really looking to, take it like a step further. So right now we have like some pretty big pilot projects coming up where for these pilot projects to really be facilitated and working well, we are looking to, also be able to do cash payouts through an ATM, for example. So you, without having a bank account, you would still be able to have a crypto wallet that you would be able to pay to an ATM. You would need to pass KYC to do this, but it's still something that's, like quite a lot easier. The same thing, they also have like a lot of local frameworks that we use. For example, like they have these stores like called like Pick and Pay, where it's like a supermarket, but you can also like pick up cash there. So another way, very easy way to bridge it is, to like allow for infrastructure so you can go and pick up like the fiat currency after you have been using the cryptocurrency. I want to highlight an example. So if you see out here, we have this card where it says DAI Finance. So that's a local project that we work with in Nigeria. They're launching a DAI debit card on their own, and they've been dealing with, like banks and local regulators and all these things with our support, but launching everything on themselves. So what we have been able to do for them is we have been able to give them the fiat bridge. We have been able to connect them with both local and global partners. We're going to help them with potentially funding. We have a community-driven fund that's called the Stable Fund, where we give grants up to $100,000. And this is, of course, something that I would lie to you guys if it were easy to do due diligence on these projects in a place like Nigeria. It's been thousands of messages with these guys, and I think finally we're at a stage where we actually feel confident enough to be able to provide them this funding. So it doesn't come easy, but one thing that one second. Yeah, so it doesn't come easy, but one thing that we have really found out with these guys is that they have like an enormous like desire to work, and they're really, really passionate about, and they're really, really passionate about, providing like opportunities for themselves and see if they can like progress. So these guys, they work, like every single day, even in the weekends, from like early morning until late nights, and message me around the clock. So I think there's like a lot of like actually like people who wants to drive these things, but they have a major issue in regards to like funding and access and just in general, like knowledge and like know-how. So we also provided them with like a lot of like consulting on like how to set up like a business that would be acceptable for like European and American companies to have an interest in regards to like, for example, like parameters, like how do they charge like interest rates and stuff like that, right? So it doesn't just become like another like local project that like looks to exploit the already like poor economies, but actually something that can like provide a lot of value. So we have like a very, very like grassroots approach where we really try to work with as many local projects as possible. We currently have projects like all over the continent. I think we currently have projects in around 10 different countries. And of course, some of them we have multiple projects in the same country. And this is something that, we really, really look to like scale up, because we do truly believe that we have created this like amazing decentralized product, which, is everything that crypto was meant to be, but we have just added stability to it. And the fact that we have added stability to it makes it so we can actually confidently go out and push this into these communities without being, afraid that suddenly they will lose 80% of the value of what we have tried to, make them use. Another thing is that when they connect with us, we have this amazing ecosystem. We have currently a lot of different partnerships in a lot of different fields. And this is something that, if you join our ecosystem, we are open to helping you with introductions everywhere where it makes sense. So a lot of these companies, the company from Nigeria, they have been connected with several of our global partners, including fiat to crypto possibilities in the US. So actually now they have been able to open up, before they actually even launched a card, they've been able to open up a fiat to crypto remittance corridor from the US to Nigeria. And this is something that, for a local Nigerian project, they would never have been able to have this opportunity before. So we really, really look to, like facilitate these like local entrepreneurs. Yeah, so as I said, a little bit over 200 partnerships now. We're constantly growing this number up. And then, we do always, like recommend these projects, like see if you can become part of like a global ecosystem. We see a lot of them joining, for example, like trying to like join accelerators or stuff like that. But just having, like infrastructure and like infrastructure access and like global like access to, like different partners and stuff like that. Having like guidance and like improving your local connections is something that can really mean like a very, very big difference for a company that's looking to launch their first product, especially within the financial sector. So what I said earlier is that we have this like grants program where we give like grants and project support, which is within the fields of financial inclusion, social responsibility, and DAI adoption. So far, a lot of them have been within DAI adoption because we really tried to build out the infrastructure, so a lot of these projects, were possible. But now, as we go over time and more of these infrastructure pieces have been filled out, then we're looking more and more into, actually funding projects that deal with like financial inclusion and social responsibility. And this is not only, on the financial inclusion side of things. Sorry, it's also in regards to like climate change. So we have already given grants to a few renewable energy projects. So this is another part of it. So this is, in the beginning I mentioned kind of like two sides. We first have like the project side that focuses more on entrepreneurs, and then we have the DoItYourself Ambassadors kit. So this is Abdul Karim Yakubu. He's 25, he has a Bachelor of Science in Planning, and he's from Ghana. So we have created this toolkit where these local ambassadors, they can apply for them to be able to create events where they spread awareness about Maker and DAI as a stablecoin, and then we basically fund the entire event. So this is like a very good way to kind of like mobilize and incentivize locals to actually start like learning more about the system. And over the long run, we're looking to like incentivize them more and more. So this can actually be something that becomes like a part-time occupation for them. And we help them a lot with this. We have a lot of great photos as well from this thing here. And we do truly believe that allowing them to learn about how to access DAI, how to get into crypto, how to escape local inflation, that this is some of the key elements to teach these communities, right? But it's also something that we cannot do it from far away. And unfortunately, limited resources in Africa being as big as it is, it can be very, very difficult to engage the local communities. So instead, we have created this program here to facilitate these meetups. It's only a few months old now, and we had 2 meetups. We had one in Ghana, one in Ethiopia. We are having another one coming in Ghana now. And we have interest from a lot of different parties all over the region on them being able to participate in this do-it-yourself program. And I mean, the money is not a lot. We give up to 500 DAI or $500 to them. And then, of course, that will cover, like location, the t-shirts we pay and send to them as well, but like location, food, and then often there's like a little bit of money left for the organizer as well. But here is like some of the pictures from one of the meetups. And this is something that we're really looking to, like continue expanding this program. And we are opening up like sectors for this as well in Southeast Asia, where we quite soon will have the first meetups in both Indonesia and I think the other one is in Taiwan. And I'm going traveling there to South Korea, Vietnam, and the Philippines later this year in June. And which is where we're going to go out and really like spread the word about this and meet with a lot of interested parties. Because I mean, one thing is that we can give a link to them to it online, but the fact that we actually go on and like talk with them and meet with them is one of these like ways that we really try to facilitate like this like grassroots approach. This is a few links for it. Probably not too relevant here. But yeah, so we just have like some of our websites. If you guys want to see what's going on, we have our MakerDAO Twitter where we announce our partnerships. We have chat.makerdao.com where all the team members are quite active, so you can always come in and ask questions there. We also have a very active subreddit where a lot of news and community-driven efforts are taking place. We also have weekly community and governance calls that are open for the public. So this is some of the things, about being a DAO, is that we really, try to be as transparent as possible and include as many interested parties as possible. Yeah, that was it.